Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 7, Chapter 8, entitled The Lord Slays the King of the Demons, text number 2. We're going to cover 2 through 4 today. So, text number 2, you can repeat after. Atacharya sutastesham buddhim ekanta samstitam alakshya bitastvarito rajna avedayadyata atacharya sutastesham buddhim ekanta samstitam alakshya bitastvarito rajna avedayadyata atacharya shrutastesham buddhim ekanta samstitam atacharya shrutastesham alakshya bitastvarito rajna avedayadyata atacharya shrutastesham buddhim ekanta samstitam alakshya bitastvarito Vedayadyata atacharya sutastesham buddhim ekanta samstitam alakshya bitastvarito rajna vedayadyata ata. Thereupon Acharya Sutta, the son of Sukracharya, Tesham, of them, the sons of the demons, Buddhim, the intelligence, Ekanta Samstitam, fixed in one subject matter, devotional service, Alakshya, realizing or seeing practically, Bita, being afraid, Tvarita, as soon as possible, Rajne, unto the king, Hiranyakashipu, Avedayat, submitted, Yata, fittingly. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. When Sanda and Amarka, the sons of Sukracharya, observed that all the students, the sons of the demons, were becoming advanced in Krishna consciousness because of the association of Prahlad Maharaj, they were afraid. They approached the king of the demons and described the situation as it was. Purport. The words Buddhim ekanta samstitam indicate that as an effect of Prahlad Maharaj's preaching, the students who listened to him became fixed in the conclusion that Krishna consciousness is the only object of human life. The fact is that anyone who associates with a pure devotee and follows his instructions becomes fixed in Krishna consciousness and is not disturbed by materialistic consciousness. The teachers particularly observed this in their students, and therefore they were afraid because the whole community of students was gradually becoming Krishna conscious. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindobhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in the last chapter, Prahlad Maharaj Sanda and Amarka had left the classroom, and Prahlad Maharaj immediately took that time to begin instructing his classmates about Krishna consciousness. He started with knowledge, jnana, and then he progressed to bhakti. And the last teaching of the last verse was that ultimately it should culminate in serving the lotus feet of Govinda. So then in this chapter, Sanda and Amarka have just returned to the classroom, and they come in and they immediately are able to see that, I guess there was a change in the aura of the room or something. They could feel that the students had become fixed in Krishna consciousness as a result of the association of Prahlad Maharaj. And Prabhupada chooses to focus on this particular aspect of the verse, these words, buddhim ekanta samstitam. So buddhim, the intelligence, ekanta samstitam, had become fixed in one subject matter, devotional service. So this was a very scary situation for Sanda and Amarka, obviously, because they were instructed by Hiranyakashipu to stop this from happening, and they leave the classroom for who knows, must not have been a very long time, and they come back and all of a sudden these boys are devotees of Vishnu. So, but this is very interesting that Prabhupada, the way he chooses to focus on this point, because buddhim ekanstitam just means that they've become fixed in one subject matter. And actually in the verse there's no word that means like sangha, nothing referring to association, but obviously it's a given. How did they become fixed in devotional service? They could have only come to this through association, particularly of Prahlad Maharaj in this case. And this is a very nice point that I just wanted to. There was some verses along this line in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that explain what is the qualification for one to start the path of devotional service. So particularly in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, I just wanted to quote a couple verses that explain this what is the adhikar for one to begin the practice of sadhana bhakti. So in the second wave, first ocean, text number 14, Rupa Goswami writes, Ya kenapyatibhagena jata shradho syase vane nati shakto navairagya bhag ashyam adhikaryaso. So the translation is, the qualified person is described as follows: the person who has developed faith in serving the Lord by impressions arising from previous association with devotees, who is not too attached to material objects, and who is not too detached, is qualified for Vaidhi Bhakti. And Jiva Goswami just has one sentence commentary. He says, the word ati bhagena, by extreme good fortune, means, quote, by distinctive impressions arising from association with devotees. And there's one footnote. It just says, thus the cause of faith is not material action, but bhakti in the form of association of devotees. So there's nothing that can be done basically from an individual's standpoint in any regard to awaken devotion for the Lord. The only way that devotion can come about is through the association of a devotee or of devotees. So if anyone is ever seen practicing Krishna consciousness or any, trying to worship God, then it's automatically to be assumed that they could have only got that by the association of devotees. And so I wanted to highlight that because it's not something that's just sitting dormant that will awaken, without a catalyst. The catalyst is the association of devotees. And then, so how does one get the association of devotees then? That's the question. So in the next verse, Rupa Goswami, he quotes a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam actually, and he says, Yadrichaya mat katado jata shraddhostu ya puman na nirvino nati shakto bhakti yogo syasiddhidaha. So in the 11th canto it is said, if somehow or other, by good fortune one develops faith in hearing and chanting my glories, such a person, being neither very disgusted with nor attached to material life, should achieve perfection through the path of loving devotion to me. So, how does one get the association of devotees? Yadrichaya, somehow or other. There's not exactly any rhyme or reason to getting the association. It's something that it'll either happen or it won't. That's the meaning of this word. Yadrichaya literally means somehow or other. And I just wanted to read a little excerpt from Prabhupada's purport, because in the last two verses, Rupa Goswami was mentioning that this person is particularly not too attached to material life or too detached. So then Prabhupada expands on this point. He explains it in his purport. He says, if somehow or other one gets the association of pure devotees of the Lord and hears from them the transcendental message of Lord Krishna, then one has the chance to become a devotee of the Lord. As mentioned in the previous verse, those who become disgusted with material life take to impersonal philosophical speculation and rigorously try to stamp out any trace of personal existence. Those who are still attached to material sense gratification try to purify themselves by offering the fruits of their ordinary activities to the Supreme. And a first-class candidate for pure devotional service, on the other hand, is neither completely disgusted with nor attached to material life. He does not desire to pursue ordinary material existence any further because it cannot award real happiness. Nevertheless, a candidate for devotional service does not give up all hope for perfecting personal existence. A person who avoids the two extremes of material attachment and impersonal reaction to material attachment, and who somehow or other gets the association of pure devotees, faithfully hearing their message, is a good candidate for going back home, back to Godhead, as described here by the Lord. So, the easy part is, I guess we've all got the association of devotees. Well, that's why we're here. So then the hard part, I guess, is becoming not too attached or not too detached to material existence. But he pointed out three types of people in this verse. The jnani is qualified by his extreme detachment to material existence. He's disgusted with material life completely. And so then he turns to knowledge. The karmi is still attached to material life, so then he's being recommended to follow the path of karma yoga. And then the bhakti yogi is one who is neither detached nor attached. He simply utilizes everything in service to Krishna. And so then, somehow or other, one gets the association of devotees, and then they can become qualified like this. And I was just thinking, I guess these boys are very lucky that they became the sons of demons at this particular time, because this is the only way they could have gained the association of Prahlad Maharaj. So they're actually very, very fortunate. And so then I guess one more question could arise then. So one will get the association of devotees. So then when can one expect bhakti to arise in the heart? So there's another verse from the Bhagavatam that explains this really, it's a really cool verse, and you can listen very carefully. Most of you have heard this already, but if you haven't, try to listen carefully. The translation, this is Canto 10, Chapter 51, Text 53. Bhava pavargo brahmato yada bhavij janasya tarhyachyuta sat samagamaha sat sangamo yarhi tadaiva sadgatao paravareshe tvai jayate mati. Translation: when the material life of a wandering soul has ceased, O Achyuta, he may attain the association of your devotees. And when he associates with them, there awakens in him unto you, who are the goal of the devotees, and the Lord of all causes and their effects. So did anybody see anything peculiar about that? Who hasn't? Anybody? When the material life of a wandering soul has ceased, O Achyuta, he may attain the association of your devotees. And when he associates with them, there awakens in him devotion unto you, who are the goal of the devotees and the Lord of all causes and their effects. Yeah. Yes, yes. So Prabhupada said here, or this verse is, this is the section where Mukunda, he woke up and he blasted that guy to dust, and then now he's realizing that this is Krishna standing before him, so he starts to glorify him, and he's now glorifying the association of devotees. So he said here, Jordan had it right. When the material life of a wandering soul has ceased, then they may attain the association of your devotees, Krishna, your devotees. So this is weird, because why would it be that way? Why would it be that you first become free from material existence and then only you get the association of devotees? So Prabhupada and our acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Jiva Goswami, they all expand on this point. This is actually this is a type of decoration. It's called an atishayokti, which is basically it's a hyperbole. It's an extreme statement. So this it's a decoration. So because of this reverse of stating, so he's stating, after one becomes free from material existence, then they achieve the association of devotees. By stating it in this way, it's actually meant to highlight how quickly one's cessation of material existence begins immediately following the association of devotees. So it's actually a decoration that's meant to show us how quickly this can happen, how quickly this will happen as a result. So that's why when we're on Harinam, it's always really funny when people come by and they're mocking us, chanting Hare Krishna in their funny way or whatever, or they're dancing, trying to, whatever, they think they're making fun. But, what's that? Yeah, joke's on them. Joke's on them. The cessation of the material life has begun. So, it's really encouraging for the devotees to see people, quote unquote, making fun. It's much nicer than the people that just walk by like they didn't hear anything. So then we can see these boys that got the association of Prahlad Maharaj, their cessation of material existence has begun. And I was just thinking, they seem to be, they're pretty prime candidates for devotional service because they haven't really seen the harshness of life yet. They're little boys. They haven't really gotten a chance to become too attached to material things. Maybe they have some toys or something, I don't know. But they haven't really seen the full, life, and what to speak of. I mean, regardless, whatever they might have seen, they get the association of Prahlad Maharaj, who's such an advanced devotee, so none of that would have made a difference anyway. So that's what I wanted to say about that verse. Does anybody have any comments on this? Or I can't say I can answer questions, but if anybody has anything.
I just want to explore a little more the point that because they were young, they were good candidates because they didn't have experience of material life. But sometimes having that experience can be an impetus for really taking shelter of bhakti. And so in the context, sometimes we see nowadays of devotee children, they haven't had the experience of material existence. So we should think, oh, that's great, you're so fortunate. But sometimes the influence of material energy is so strong that they want to experience that before they can come to bhakti. So maybe you could share anything also, maybe in your personal life.
Yeah, I was going to say I can relate. But I feel like association is so powerful because I've seen devotee kids from all walks of life, and I can just say I'm very thankful for what I've gotten here, and growing up in Chicago, and particularly my parents. They did a really good job, because what they did was they didn't force Krishna consciousness on me. They would always be practicing at home, doing their own thing, and then I would just see them, and I would see that they are relishing Krishna consciousness. My dad was always chanting, my mother's always doing deity worship or reading, and it's not like they started making me chant 16 rounds when I was like 5 or something. I didn't start chanting 16 rounds till very recently, and so for them to have been like that with me is beautiful, because it allowed me to see it, on my own, to see that how I could appreciate this, and because of the association that I was getting from devotees, then I was able to, when I went to school and everything, I was able to pretty clearly distinguish that this is not something that I want. It was like seeing something from like a bird's eye view, seeing kids come to school drunk or whatever it may be, they go to parties and whatever, and it's only because of the association of the devotees. There's no other reason how I could have stuck around. So yeah, but you were saying sometimes it helps to have that experience of material life. So I guess I kind of had it indirectly, just by seeing, and you can see it, you can almost experience it yourself just by being around people that are experiencing it. So yeah, thank you for that point. Still have a long way to go. All of you are what's inspiring me now. So, anybody else have any points on this verse you wanted to bring up? Sasha, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your class. Maybe you can expand a little bit about, for me kind of seems more logic that you first meet devotees and then your material life start to cease. How it works the other way? Why would your life, what would be the reason? Why would you want that?
So it doesn't work like that. Your material life won't cease before you achieve the association of devotees. But the point is that this verse, it's a decoration, it's poetic, it's just poetry. So because he's stating it like this, after your material life ceases, then you achieve the association of devotees. It's just meant to highlight how quickly the cessation of material life happens. So one comes in contact with the devotees, and immediately there's no delay. The cessation of material life has already begun. There's no delay. So then, by restating it in the reverse, it's simply a decoration. It's not that you first achieve liberation, then you would get the association of devotees. You understand? Yeah. So, and there was a Sanskrit term for this. It's called atishayokti. So it's a hyperbole in English, which is just an extreme exaggeration of this point, just to make it extremely clear that the association of devotees immediately brings about cessation of material life, like that. There's one more verse if nobody has anything on this one. So, yeah, sir, go ahead.
So what does it mean to associate with devotees? We know the pastime even with Krishna when he met the person who was taking the cloths for dresses for Kamsa. He saw
his head knocked
personally,
out.
right?
Yeah.
What does it mean to associate with devotee?
Somebody else can expand on this more if they want, but my understanding is hearing from a devotee, hearing and discussing the pastimes of Krishna, hearing and chanting with a devotee is association. And specifically, I'm just thinking of this that verse from NOI, what is it? Guhyam akyati prachati. So that means that the qualified devotee is speaking Krishna Katha, and the hearer is just, the receiver is just hearing. That's association of pure devotees. We're not there to give them anything, because they have it all. We're just simply taking in as much as we can. And so, just hearing and chanting, that's my understanding of association, yeah. Acharya Prabhu.
Says the dati pratigrinati guyamakyanti prachati bhunkte bojayate chaiva sadvidam prilakshana. These are the 6 ways devotees associate.
Yeah.
Giving gifts and receiving gifts, inquiring confidentially and revealing one's mind, and offering and taking prasadam. So this is but so he does this with a devotee, and then that's considered association.
Yeah.
So even if you give, like you said, the sadhu doesn't need anything, but if you give him something, you're
that's still association.
Associating with him.
Yeah.
You can offer him some water, anything. Jai says otherwise it's just hanging out.
Yeah.
If you're not doing these things with devotees, it's just hanging out. You won't really get the benefit of that association.
Thank you. So we'll just we'll cover these next 2 verses. So I'll just read the translation. This is text 3 and 4. When Hiranyakashipu understood the entire situation, he was extremely angry, so much so that his body trembled. Thus, he finally decided to kill his son Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu was by nature very cruel, and feeling insulted, he began hissing like a snake trampled upon by someone's foot. His son Prahlad was peaceful, mild, and gentle. His senses were under control, and he stood before Hiranyakashipu with folded hands. According to Prahlad's age and behavior, he was not to be chastised. Yet with staring, crooked eyes, Hiranyakashipu rebuked him with the following harsh words. Purport. When one is impudent toward a highly authorized devotee, one is punished by the laws of nature. The duration of his life is diminished, and he loses the blessings of superior persons and the results of pious activities. Hiranyakashipu, for example, had achieved such great power in the material world that he could subdue practically all the planetary systems in the universe, including the heavenly planets, Svargaloka. Yet now, because of his mistreatment of such a Vaishnava as Prahlad Maharaj, all the results of his tapasya diminished. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.4.46, Ayu Shriyam Yasho Dharmam Lokan Ashisha Evacha Hanti Shreyamsi Sarvani Pumsho Mahad Atikramaha. When one mistreats great souls, his lifespan, opulence, reputation, religion, possessions, and good fortune are all destroyed. So what an image, Hiranyakashipu, he's, this isn't the first time actually, even though it says, thus Hiranyakashipu decided to kill Prahlad. At the beginning, Prahlad Maharaj came back from school, this was a few chapters ago, and Hiranyakashipu very affectionately sits Prahlad on his lap. He's like, oh Prahlad, my boy, what have you learned in school today? And then Prahlad's like, oh, that Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that you're, he basically says you're a rascal to his father. And so Hiranyakashipu was, even at that time, he was like, this is crazy, what is this boy, who does he think he is? And he's thinking about this of his own son, and even at that time, he had already ordered his associates, or his minions, to kill Prahlad. And at that time, they had tried various methods, throwing him in boiling oil, throwing him off a cliff, pit of snakes, and nothing worked. And at that, even then, after Hiranyakashipu had already achieved all of this great power from his austerities, it was described that he became fearful at that time of Prahlad Maharaj. He's like, this is very scary, this boy has some power. And so then he tried sending him back to school, and his teachers leave the classroom, and he does this again. And so then now Hiranyakashipu, I guess he's taking it up into his own hands doing the deed that his minions couldn't do, and he's very angry, as it's described here. He was hissing like a snake trampled on. And so Prabhupada, in his purport, he's just saying that for one, anybody who's going to commit offenses against the devotees, this is going to be the result. They're going to, he quotes this verse, when one mistreats great souls, his lifespan, opulence, reputation, religion, possessions, and good fortune are all destroyed. So Hiranyakashipu had gone through all this austerity, but for naught, because it's about to be finished. And basically Prabhupada is what he's doing here is it seems like he's just foreshadowing in this chapter. Hiranyakashipu is challenging, and we'll see what will happen as a result of his committing these great offenses to Prahlad Maharaj, a pure devotee of the Lord. So that's basically what I got from this verse. It's just a foreshadowing of, Hiranyakashipu's lack of intelligence and where that will lead him. So, does anybody have any comments on this verse? Questions?
What are some ways one can avoid falling into this trap of, mistreating a great soul? What is the cause of that, and how can one protect himself?
What is the cause of offending devotees? Well, in this case, it was pride. It was Hiranyakashipu's pride. He wanted to be the Lord of the universe. He wanted to be the one and only. And as soon as he sees that there's somebody that's threatening that position that he's gained, nobody in the universe was threatening to him except for Prahlad Maharaj. And Vishnu wasn't even in the picture. In his view, Vishnu wasn't even part of the picture. Prahlad Maharaj was the only concern he had, and he could see Prahlad Maharaj is so powerful. He's so potent. Not only was he able to escape death, but he's so easily able to influence anybody that comes near him, make them pure devotees, make them enemies of Hiranyakashipu. So pride was the cause, and how to avoid that is to get rid of pride. How do you get rid of pride? Chant Hare Krishna. Pride. I don't know. How do you get rid of pride?
To be around someone who's free from pride.
Yes.
Then they'll expose your pride. Otherwise, you can do all the work to think, oh, I'm so humble. But it's revealed in front of a humble devotee.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also thinking, with pride, not just in this case, but in all cases, really, that's the cause of offense to another living entity, what to speak of a Vaishnava. And then also, Rupa Goswami warns that the devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view.
What's that?
Devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view.
Oh, yeah.
Just Swabhayar, Janitar Vapushascha Doshar. He gives a whole verse saying, just as the bubbles and foam of the Ganges are always pure, one should never consider the bodily form of the devotee as material, because that tarnishes your whole opportunity to associate properly. You see a devotee according to the bodily consciousness. Based on our bodily conception, we have so many likes and dislikes about our body and about someone else's body. So immediately then that door, that priceless door for actually getting cessation of material existence is closed. If there's some offense or something, that tarnishes the whole opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore it's so important. It's nice that Prabhupada's mentioning this. How inauspicious to mistreat a great soul. We'll lose everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I was also, Jitendra, but we wanted to add something? I was also thinking that another point is one thing that can help is to be often the person that brings us to Krishna consciousness is they've seen us at our lowest point because they took us from there and now we're here. So I'd say it's much easier at least to be accountable to someone like that, somebody that brought us to Krishna consciousness, or even after coming to Krishna consciousness, somebody who that we are able to open up to, and by being accountable to someone, to a senior devotee, that makes it very easy to at least see our pride, because we can hear that from them. Because otherwise, if we're amongst our peers or something, and your friend tells you, man, you need to chill out a little bit, you're a little puffed up, you don't want to hear that from your peers. But if you're hearing that from your superior, especially somebody that you feel comfortable with, you can take that much more easily. And you can at least, even if it hurts, you can at least see the truth in it. So, Jitendra Prabhu? Sorry.
One time I was having a discussion with Nityananda Pran, and we were talking about some personality. And I said, well, if he was just a little humble, then, things could go in his favor. And then Nityananda Pran says, either you're humble or you're not. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Then I remember reading, sometimes the karmis become exhausted with their material activities, and they take to Krishna consciousness, or by the association of devotees, they become exhausted because the devotees are stressing that. Mm-hmm. And in the Science of Self-Realization, Prabhupada had got this letter from this lady, and saying that the devotees were very zealot. They were filled with zeal against material life. I don't know if you remember that. And then Prabhupada stressed that I guess the devotees are just coming out of material life, so they were, it's like they did a 180, And so Prabhupada asked her to kind of examine it from that point, It's in the Science of Self-Realization,
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes the devotees seem to be a little too fired up for the average person to,
Yeah.
But anyways, that's what I picked up on it.
Yeah. Sometimes that's a result of pure devotee syndrome for 6 months, 6 months to a year.
Pure devotee syndrome.
Yeah. You've heard of this? Pure devotee syndrome?
Yeah, PDS.
Yeah. Yeah, so pride. Get over it. Anybody else? Anything else?
So this is going back to verse number 2. So we understand that everything begins with association. So we see in Bhagavatam that some devotees, they get, like Dhruva Maharaj, he got amazing association from Narada Muni, and then he was able to just stay in the forest by himself because he got so much spiritual strength and determination.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to just attain perfection just by himself. So is it, and the verse mentioned those impressions that you get from your association with the devotees, they stay with you and help you move forward in your Krishna consciousness. So how should I see that when in my own life it's not that easy, and it becomes more of a, like almost like a, I don't want to say crisis because that sounds too intense, but it becomes very difficult. And so how does one get that strength and determination when they might not have the best association,
Two things. One is, man, I really wish I could remember the exact verse now. But I was talking about this with Steve yesterday. Maybe you know. But the verse was, we were talking about, even after one gets the association of devotees, that's not going to be it. Dhruva Maharaj was exceptional, and there are exceptional examples of people who have gotten the association, and then they can take that and they can go with it, without they don't need anything else. They've just completely absorbed that strength. But for the average person, for the average jiva, that verse encourages us that we get the initial association, and we're supposed to keep association all throughout. And that's what will allow us to, achieve the goal much more easily, and much, with more strength and vigor. Do you remember that verse? What is it?
It's from the CC. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoi Sadhu Sangha. The first line is that the root of the appearance of Krishna Bhakti is Sadhu Sangha. And the second line is Krishna Prema Janme Tenho Punamakya Anga, which means that as far as Krishna Prema is concerned, the appearance of Krishna Prema, again, that Sadhu Sangha is the chief principle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. So, anyway, your question was that that may not be possible. So, what I've heard, Jai Jagannath Prabhu always harps on this point that, he also went through a period, a very long period of time, where he was here basically alone, and he had nobody to associate with, but his association always came from just studying scripture. So that's a point that we have to be able to see that we're actually getting association by reading the scriptures. That's what we need to be able to do, and that's easier said than done, because feels like it's not very personal. But that's what worked for him, and we can see where he is now. And so I have faith that can work. And even recently, I wrote to him. I said I'm not reading so regularly. I'm trying to read, like, maybe I read 3 or 4 days a week. And then he's like, "Don't worry, the taste will increase naturally. That's how it works. So you just have to keep pushing through it. We have so many samskaras that we're trying to get rid of. So, I mean, that's, as far as I understand, then we can achieve association through the scriptures. I don't know if anybody has any other practical points on that. Try, Mr. Prabhu.
Yeah, it's based on the sincerity of what one really needs, what one's really crying out for to get the association. So when we're in situations throughout our life, we can consider, what is Krishna's reciprocating with me? So the association I have, association that I got, or that I'm getting, or that I need to get, it's based on what we need, that Krishna will reciprocate with us. But yeah, extremely rare that you just get some association, then you just...
And then it just sticks, yeah.
Howdy ball. See,
right, yeah.
Goloka.
Yeah, don't count on that.
Step by step, at every moment, really, you have to have the association, which can be the Vapu or the Vani, but at our stage, if we don't have that association, then, are we seeking it out? And what are we doing with the association that we've gotten? Are we reflecting on that? Because it's one thing to have heard a few nice things. It's nothing to really live by those, day to day. Because then you're still associating with that devotee. Like, there's devotees of Prabhupada, they never got his association.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like sannyasis and maybe gurus. They never got Prabhupada. It's amazing. So it's not like they're disconnected from Prabhupada. They're feeling Prabhupada's presence very strongly. That association, just through instructions, means you're always associating that devotee. And Prabhupada said, while he's carrying out his mission, I always feel association with my spiritual master. So that is also comforting.
Yeah. Yeah, Justin.
To sacrifice the relative for the absolute principle.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really want something, you'll get it. So, sometimes you might have to sacrifice your current situation and go seek out association, you make a leap,
Yeah.
do something drastic.
Yeah.
You know, go to where the sadhus are, or where someone who, within the socio-religious Iskcon
Structure,
system,
yeah.
you'll be able to get their association. You go there and then, you know.
Yeah, take advantage. I would never downplay the value of personal association. Of course, there's nothing that beats it. So sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do.
I thought of one point also. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that if one is suffering due to being separated from the devotees, if he reads the books of the acharyas, that will help remedy his pain somewhat.
Somewhat. That's all. Yeah. Yeah. Joey.
So when it comes to association, what can we do? What can we do to ensure that we provide our fellow devotees around us with the best association possible from a personal perspective?
What can we do to ensure that we are providing valuable association to others?
Yes.
Don't talk prajalpa. Don't. Did you hear that? It's all right. Yeah, so, but I guess that's actually true. Don't talk prajalpa. But that's also easier said than done. But in general, we have to, the Madhyam Adhikari is one who's able to distinguish between different levels of devotees. So I'm not a Madhyam Adhikari personally, and I'm not able to distinguish. So as a result, you have to treat everyone the same, or you have to try to. So, that means just we're all here for the same purpose. We're all here to try to become Krishna conscious, and with that understanding always in mind, then we can't impose ourselves on anybody else, and assume that what's best for us is also what's best for them. So that's something that's meant for the superior or a guide of a devotee to deal with, to determine what's best for someone. So as peers, I would say we're not really meant to instruct each other. If anything, we're meant to refer to our superiors and use them as a reference to how we should be acting, and not necessarily impose ourselves on others. So even if we see that like a peer is doing something that maybe we would consider detrimental to devotional life, I would say it's not our place to really tell them, like, this is not right. You shouldn't be doing this. It's not going to help your devotional life. As a peer, it's something that's meant for superiors to deal with. I don't know. Does anybody have another view on that, or Justin? Oh, just end here, Prabhu, and then Jordan.
Well, it says that, you can't give a fool good instruction or he becomes angry. And there's a saying, a word to the wise is sufficient, but there's no end to the words needed to convince a fool.
No end to the words needed to convince a fool.
Yeah, so you have to be subtle. You don't always have to be direct. You could be, metaphorically, or, that way you can get your point across.
Yeah.
But if no else if that doesn't avail, then just let it be.
Yeah. Thank you. Jordan, you wanted to say something? Yeah, we can see the importance of a guide in our life, right? Being accountable to a senior devotee is what will allow us to get rid of pride, because they can point it out to us. It will allow us to dispel these whatever we think we know about devotional service, whatever we think is right for us. In a lot of ways, having a spiritual master or guide will help.
In the class yesterday, he was speaking about giving gifts to devotees. He was talking about exchanges amongst devotees. It's like a 3-part series, Sunday class or something like that. But at the beginning, he said that this is, we're personalists. Devotees are personalists, so having personal exchanges with each individual devotee, or trying to at least, is very important with your peers, especially not trying to instruct them, but trying to have a personal relationship. It's something that I find to be really difficult. Even I'm realizing more and more, coming from a materialistic standpoint, how impersonal I've always been with people, always seeing others as just an object of my life, my illusional dream, where I'm the center point. Or now we're starting to put Krishna in the center and put Krishna's devotees in the center of our lives. So they're the object of our affection, the object of our being. We live for the devotees. That's the goal. I mean, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Especially with peers, with devotees, living in the temple too. If we have this personal connection with each other, we'll feel a lot stronger. Whereas if we tend to be impersonal and aloof, a lot of times people don't feel connected, and it's not the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
It's common.
Thank you. Michael.
Thinking even if you had association devotees, if you don't study scripture, they won't be dynamic. Otherwise, it'd just be, talking about redundant topics.
So you need the association of devotees alongside studying the scriptures. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.